A DSLR camera offers full control over how your photo looks, from the focus to the color to the brightness. A key step in gaining this control is to understand your camera's exposure. Exposure refers to the amount of light your camera allows in when taking a photo. All photographs are created by focusing light through a lens onto a light-sensitive recording medium. A DSLR uses an image sensor to record photos, which is an array of light-responsive computer chips. Between the lens and the sensor are two barriers, the aperture and shutter, which control how much light hits the sensor. These two features, along with ISO, determine exposure, or the picture's overall brightness and contrast. A DSLR camera offers control over all three features. Aperture affects depth of field, or the zone of sharp focus. With a shallow depth of field, your subject appears sharply focused compared to faraway objects. With a large depth of field, the opposite happens. You reduce the aperture size and increase the depth of field by choosing a higher f-stop number. An easy way to remember this is to think of the F as standing for focus. The higher the f-stop, the larger depth of field, and so your sharp focus covers a greater distance from your subject. Shutter speed refers to the amount of time the shutter is open and allowing light to hit your camera's sensor when taking a picture. Shutter speed is typically measured in fractions of a second. Shooting a moving object, like this hockey player, at a fast shutter speed, like 1/1000th of a second, freezes the action, while a slower speed, like 1/125th of a second, could give you a blurry image. ISO affects image noise, or the defect that looks like sand and is similar to film grain. As the ISO increases, the image sensor is more reactive to light, so there's more risk of producing noise. Everyone has their own approach to finding the right combination of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Here are a few tips to help you control exposure. Always use the lowest possible ISO setting, unless the lighting conditions are so poor that you can't use the aperture and shutter speed you want without raising the ISO. If your subject is moving, or might move, give shutter speed the next highest priority in setting exposure. Choose a fast shutter speed to ensure a blur-free photo. Or on the flip side, select a slow shutter to intentionally blur that moving object. It can create a cool effect. Use your camera's shutter priority or manual mode to control shutter speed. For images of non-moving subjects, make aperture a priority over shutter speed, setting the aperture according to the depth of field you have in mind. Use your camera's aperture priority or manual mode to set the aperture you want.